Hi there. Today we're going to be talking about the Hebrews, our ancient Israelites. So, who were the Hebrews? The Hebrews are going to be a civilization that is in Canaan, which is northeast of Egypt along the Mediterranean coast. And they are going to exist from about 1800 BCE to 70 CE. Remember, you never have to write dates for me unless I specifically say so. Now, the most important contribution of the Hebrews to the world is the introduction of their faith, Judaism. Judaism is going to be the world's first monotheistic religion. Now, I want you to think, what does monotheism mean? Your sub can hopefully pause this and elicit your response. Hopefully said monotheism is the belief in one God. Now, they believe in one God, Yahweh, and their sacred text is the Torah, which Torah means God's teaching. I'm not going to ask you that one, so you can omit that bullet right there. Now, one of the things that makes studying the Hebrews a little bit more challenging than other civilizations is that the Torah is our main source of information about the Hebrews. This was originally passed down orally, meaning one person talked about it, told younger generations, and then it was passed down that way until it was all written down. What's been really interesting, though, is through a lot of modern archaeology, we're seeing some of these stories coming to life. We're starting to finally find, different names referenced within the Torah, such as, King David, who's pretty famous, in other civilizations' writings. We're finding ruins of cities and things like that. But really, our main source is the Torah, their sacred text. So, that being said, here's of course my disclaimer about religion. Religion is a personal decision between you and your family, and eventually just you. And I'm not telling you what to believe, but we are going to be explaining a group of people's beliefs, and it is important that we are respectful for all beliefs. Some of these things might be things that you also agree with, they might be things you disagree with. Remember, we're always civil and respectful at Frederick Classical Charter School. So the father of Hebrews was a man named Abraham. He was born Abram and will later take the entire name Abraham. And he came from the city of Ur. And as the story goes, he one day hears a voice and it says, Abram, go take your family to Canaan. He'd never been there before. It was miles and miles away, but he goes, takes his family, moves to Canaan. They were nomadic shepherds there. They had herds of animals. They kept them going. Then we know through the story the Hebrews make it to Egypt. They start living in the Nile Delta. This is the land of Goshen. And there they were farmers, but eventually they were made slaves by the Egyptians. Now, there's this misnomer saying that the Hebrews built the pyramids. This is incorrect. The pyramids were long there before the Hebrews, and also the pyramids weren't built by slave labor. So the pyramids were already there when the Hebrews were there. They were living in Goshen. And unfortunately, being in the vast farmland, they were going and being quite prolific, lots and lots of Hebrews, and the Egyptians feared them. The story goes then enslaved them. It's a sad story. Then, we believe sometime from 1250 to 1200, a man named Moses is going to lead the Hebrews out. According to the Torah, we have the story of him parting the Red Sea for him to escape. This is where you have the stories of all of the different plagues going, striking the Egyptians before the Pharaoh, who may have been Ramses, let them go. Then, as the story goes, for about 40 years, the Hebrews wandered the desert and the Sinai Peninsula, most likely. They're going to take a pit stop at Mount Sinai, where they'll have their 10 Commandments. And then we're going to have around the year 1000, we have all of the Israelite tribes being united under one man, King David. All right, so I know this is a lot there, so we need to have this basic idea of it was from one man going to Canaan. Eventually they went to Egypt, they left Egypt, and then they're going to have, by year 1000, a king. We don't need all of the details here. We're going to look at these specific leaders later on. So, what are the beliefs about Judaism? Well, first off, they say that God is all-powerful and all-knowing, so omnipotent and omniscient. And that Jews, or Jewish people, believe it's their duty to honor and obey God. Now, despite the fact that God is all-powerful, all-knowing, they believe they have the ability to come to God through prayer, so that they can speak to Him. Now, one of the things that is going to be stressed is following the law, and of course, the most important part of this law is going to be the 10 Commandments. Now, there are going to be many other laws, though. If we look in the book of Deuteronomy and Leviticus, we'll see there are going to be tons and tons and tons and tons of laws. These laws are going to set the Hebrews apart. A lot of them were things that kept the Hebrews healthy. Where to have latrines, don't eat that, don't mix this with that. If someone is showing a contagious disease, send them out of the community until they're healed. A big distinction of the Hebrews that we have against other groups is the Hebrews did not view their leaders as gods. No, they saw them as regular men, and in the case of Deborah, women. So we have to recall, though, of course, that they are monotheistic. They believe in one God. So therefore, they're not going to view their leaders as gods like the Egyptians did, or as, priest kings and things like the Mesopotamians. Now, another important distinction with the Hebrews is they believed all people were equal in God's sight. One of the things that we've also seen through other civilizations and will continue to see is this idea that people were considered better or more than others. Well, the Hebrews, they didn't have that. Everybody was equal in the eyes of God. Now, knowing the law is going to be important to Hebrews. That's why rabbis are going to be so important for them. A rabbi is a Jewish teacher. He's the leader of a synagogue for later on in Jewish history, but at this point they'll just be teachers. And there's things called the Talmud, which will go along with this, which will be the teachings of various rabbis. Well, that will be our notes for the day. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.